Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the XForceGlobal channel. Thank you very much for joining me here today. Hope you all had a fantastic week and hope you're all having a fantastic Monday as well. Today, we're back with another Bitcoin analysis, and I'm here to make sure to update the price action from our prior video and see how we can go forward with the updated wave counts. Nothing too much to talk about in terms of our overall count, as our overall expectation was that this wave 4 has terminated as a triangle, and we're looking for still further continuation to the upside. And we still do have some invalidation levels that we're getting close to, but we need to also validate on the micro time frames on whether this is going to be going for another pullback or not. So right off the bat, again, one more time to recap, we're looking for this wave 3-4 of the larger degree to be completed, and we're looking for this primary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and depending on how this wave 5 is going to be extending, we're looking for how these micro time frames are going to be supported, and also how these levels are going to be parabolic in terms of the extensions. So with that being said, this wave 4 being terminated as a triangle, we're now looking for a next possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside. But will this be continuing? That's something that we'll have to be discussing, because this move here was quite unexpected. We were looking for a little bit of more bright buy pressure to the upside, and actually this unexpected NFP news trigger was kind of the catalyst for this move to the downside. So either this is now being completed as an ABC for this intermediate wave 1-2, because that's kind of the only way I can count it. Otherwise, we're looking for a larger corrective move to the downside to see how these major Fibonacci levels are going to be supported. So with that being said, with the original narrative that we've been talking about, again, with this primary wave 4 being complete, we're looking for the next 1-2, and to get that next 1-2 of the intermediate degree in orange is that we are looking for this to be a completed 5 wave, and we're looking for some kind of flat move to the downside as an ABC structure of an expanded variation, and we're now looking for this wave 2 to be completed, or we have one more move with the 5th wave move to go to the downside. Again, invalidation levels are going to be where the origin of wave 1 is, and that's going to be at this level here at 67.2K. And if that level breaks, we're going to be pretty much expecting for a larger corrective move to the downside. But again, we still have a lot of major invalidation levels to break, or obstacles rather, before we start to get really bearish. But for the time being, these levels of a healthy pullback is not something to be too surprised about. So this is kind of the first variation. This is original kind of idea that we're looking for. Again, we were looking for this wave 3-4 to be completed, and how this move up is going to be determined based on how this wave 5 is going to be extended or not, because this is pretty much characteristic of a wave 3, this is characteristic of a wave 4, and now we're just seeing how the micro time frames are going to be playing out. Otherwise, we're transitioning into something else. So that's the first variation. Our second variation, with the idea of having a more nested structure of a possible 1-2, 1-2, going into even further levels to the upside, that's going to be even more bullish. This idea is coming a little bit unlikely. I've talked about this idea also being unlikely just due to the fact that we have so many 1-2s being built up. And when you have a lot of 1-2s, especially in this caliber, they start to become less likely. You would really need some kind of parabolic move to the upside, meaning that if you have a first 1-2, 1-2, and then you have another 1-2, 1-2 inside the micro degrees, they become less relevant to how these moves are going to be playing out, because what you need to essentially be doing is not only extending the minor degree, you also need to be extending the really intermediate degree as well. So if that 3-4 at 3-4 plays out, we still need to figure out how these 3-4s are going to be playing out as well. And once you're up in these levels here, the risk for longs becomes a lot more prevalent. So this idea in terms of the probability at this point in time of recording is a little bit less likely for the major bullish scenario. We've been talking about how we can remain rational, and the rational idea of that primary 5th wave just extending as in itself instead of having a nested 1-2, 1-2. This idea is becoming a little bit less relevant now. But again, we don't know exactly how the markets are going to be playing out. You know, these unexpected news, unexpected pullbacks, these are all part of it. And a lot of these unexpected pullbacks, sometimes they're just small, shallow pullbacks, and they just expand to the upside. And that was kind of what we're looking for. We were looking for some kind of expansion for that fifth wave to happen. But right now, I don't think that this 1-2-1-2 idea is kind of in the market or in the current play right now. So for this idea, let's just put this into more of the lower alternative scenarios. So this was one of those scenarios where I thought this is not going to be the scenario, and now it's starting to come a little bit more true in terms of the play. So that's the scenario number 2. Scenario number 3 now is pretty much the idea of a possible diagonal. I don't know if this diagonal is also going to be playing out, but in terms of symmetry and looking for how this wave 5 is going to be playing out for the intermediate wave degree, that is, we're looking for, again, a fifth wave to complete as some kind of diagonal. Now, the main point of this is so that we don't consider that this is a top. We want to see some kind of clear break above before we see some kind of larger pullback. Now, we were expecting a larger pullback regardless once we get into price discovery, breaking these all-time highs. But again, I do also possibly see this as a diagonal because we are working within a distribution range. So what that means is we're looking for a series of threes for the ending diagonal. Remember, an ending diagonal can be only worked with a series of threes. And if you have a series of threes, those are now going to be considered the corrective structures within the actionary wave of this intermediate wave 5 before it completes for this wave 1 of a pullback. So it all depends on how far we go, and all depends on what kind of pullback we are going to be getting. We're still expecting some kind of pullback at each consecutive level. As the higher we go, we start to more be skeptical of what kind of pullback we're going to be looking for. But for now, with the current data given, we do have this possible 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a diagonal going into a wave 5. So how we're going to get into that, again, we have a possible 3 wave into here, ABC into here. We have a WXY into here, another ABC into here, and then we're looking for a final fifth wave to the upside, whether that'll truncate or not. We don't want to be seeing this truncated within this diagonal because we also want to see the break above this wave 3. So what that means is we're going to be looking for another 3-way move up, breaking this previous high, and then whether it's going to be overshooting or not, that's something, up for how it's going to be playing out at that current time of play. We're going to be looking for another 1, 2, 3 of an ABC pullback into this wave 2, going into the possible Fibonacci zone that we're going to be looking for, at least at the 382 or the 236 Fibonacci zone. So again, this idea is now starting to look for a possible closure for this possible 5-way move up, and we're looking for that possible 1-2 pullback before we start to look for another expansion to the upside. So that's another scenario for scenario number 3. Now, we do have a lot of scenarios for these ideas because just the fact that we are looking for possible closure of this impulse move to the upside, we've been talking about looking for an impulse move since the 56K level. So it's okay to start talking about what kind of pullbacks we'll be getting. But that was the first 1-2 pullback. But what if the 1-2 is now starting to come into play right now? What we can say is that we have a 5-wave move up here and say that fifth wave has just ended very abruptly or very short or very on target, very close to this previous wave 3, and that is a truncation in itself, creating some kind of orthodox top for a wave 5, and we're seeing that wave 1 completion. Now, these are not uncommon, but again, this move here, we were expecting a larger expansion to the upside, but we couldn't get that. So what that could mean is just due to the abruption of this ending here before this wave 3, that's called a truncation or a failure before this wave 3, and we're looking for some kind of pullback just like we saw for scenario number 3. So this ABC pullback is going to be what we're going to be looking for a wave 2. Same idea, just before that diagonal plays out, we're still expecting it to play out just a little bit sooner, and that 1-2 pullback coming down into the 63, 64K levels. See how that plays out from there, and then we're going to be looking for that expansion for that wave 3 to the upside for this final fifth wave. So that's kind of all the bullish scenarios intact. Now, there are a few other ways that we can look at the corrective scenarios. The first idea is a possible flat idea. Now, this is not my favorite idea just due to the fact that we're utilizing this move here as an impulse, as a 5-wave move to the upside, and this here would be completed as a regular flat. We're looking for a 5-wave move to the downside here, where we're looking for a possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, 3, 4, and then 5. But again, this idea of a flat idea, it's not possible because a regular flat is what needs to be met here based on just the Fibonacci levels of the 100%, 90 to 100% levels. We don't want to be looking for this. Even if we popped up here, we were possibly looking for that expanded variation, and then we can come back and break this termination of wave A. But that idea is out of the picture right now. So we're looking for some kind of 5-wave move down to complete around the 90 to 100% region for that wave C, not breaking that origin of wave A, but it can just very slightly with some kind of minor inefficiencies within the market. But again, if we want to remain the kind of flat for the overall symmetry, we're still looking for some kind of C wave to complete. We'll see how that plays out. Just right now, there's not enough data or information to play. But again, we can also alternatively label this as a WXY. But again, I don't like this idea as well, just due to the fact that I think there are better ways that we can count this previous move here and just say that we're working in some kind of, again, a different type of ending of a 5th wave that we should be looking at as a truncation, and just say that the wave 1 here and it was completed, and we're looking for an expectation to break this previous move here of this low, and we're going to be looking for another pullback as an ABC rather, instead of seeing this as the final move of a flat of some sort. So this flat idea is a little bit out of the picture for me. The next idea, however, is more interesting, which is a larger wave for consolidation. Now, we were talking about a possible X wave completion or a Y wave completion, but again, this move to the upside, that idea kind of helped invalidate it. I think there is a possibility where we can just say that the Y wave is playing out as a possible flat, but that idea, again, is just a little bit less unlikely. I don't think having 2 flats, especially with this flat being a lot smaller, is going to be the kind of ideal situation for having this as a WX and then Y. Just again, we've talked about all the reasons why, but the main reason why we don't want to be calling this a double combo is just due to the fact that having a double combo on the macro, we haven't seen Bitcoin do that in any of its time history. Not that I have known or have seen from backtesting. It's just that the idea is a little less unlikely because it probably develops into something else. So with that being said, what do I see it possibly developing into? Well, we can utilize this move here as the wave A. We can have this wave move up as the wave B, subwave B, and then we're looking for this as the wave C. So this idea is going to be considered our kind of deepest B wave, and then we'll be looking for a C wave to the downside, and then that'll complete anywhere around the 618 or the 50% level before any further down is not going to be likely to this being a triangle of some sort. So we're looking for this to be a possible barrier triangle to be being created. But this idea, again, it's very bullish, but again, we're expecting too prematurely, in my opinion. Not only that, we're expecting the least of the probable scenarios of a triangle, because not only triangles are less probable of the larger macro time frames, because we've seen them time after time fail, but we're also expecting this barrier triangle to be expected where we don't break above these levels for that D wave, and then we see another pullback in a 3-wave fashion. So you're looking for not only a series of 3 waves, we're still in the 3rd subwave of this wave C. We also have to expect wave D and E to play out as 3 subwaves, but also respecting Fibonacci levels pretty much at perfect bay with how this is going to be idealized. So this idealized scenario for the time being is just an ideal scenario. So what does that mean? The 2 main probable scenarios I have mentioned is possibly where we're looking for now this 5th wave to complete as the rational idea, where this 5th wave is going to be finishing for another 5th wave. I believe this idea is going to be the most probable scenario at this time being still, until we do break this level here. But then again, if this idea doesn't play out, we have the options of this possible diagonal if it does do one more 3-way move up, breaking this prior high. So if we do move up in 3 waves on low volume and we start to see some momentum indicators showing us that we're going to be getting some divergences, then this idea is going to be more probable. But again, for my main scenario is that I'm going to be looking for another possible move to the downside for a larger 1-2 of some sort, whether it is going to be now, where this wave 1 has ended here, or this wave 1 ending up here where we complete this idea totally for a 5th wave. But again, we just don't know how. It depends on how this is going to be impulsing. If this impulses out stronger, which is what we're mainly expecting for this idea, is that we're still going to be expecting some kind of termination around the $75,000 to the $85,000 region. look for a pullback of a 1-2. We're going to get that larger pullback of a larger degree because this idea should be part of a wave 3 after the 5th of the 5th of the 5th of the 3rd ends. Then we're looking for a larger 1, 2, 3 of an ABC pullback. So that's exactly what we're going to be looking for. So we're getting very close to these types of pullbacks where we can start getting a little bit more confident on the types of pullback. But when it will happen is just to be determined. I think markets are still eager to see higher levels. I think that's the sentiment right now. But again, we don't want to be shooting the gun too early and talk about what kind of 1-2 pullback it's going to be. We're just starting to see the first signals of it, and just any types of pullbacks. This idea, again, the triangle is just not something that I would personally work upon, even as a bull. I don't think even this 1-2 pullback is going to be likely because we're utilizing this 5-wave move up as an impulse. To me, this move just looks more likely. So this scenario where we have wave 1 being completed, and we're looking for that ABC pullback now before we move up for that expansion, or we're looking for some kind of diagonal idea where this is now going to be doing one more move to the upside to complete this overall trend to the upside, and then we'll do that pullback as an ABC, and then there is that last expansion one where we just move up now, and then we get the larger pullback of a 1-2. So overall, to summarize it, simply put, we're looking for a 1-2 pullback or an ABC pullback of whatever degree. We're just dependent on the market situation of the micro time frame, meaning that we're looking for the overall expectation of a move to the upside, but we're looking for the major move to the downside, whether that is now. Again, that is going to be dependent on this idea, whether we move up in 3-wave fashion, we'll get that, and I'll be making sure to update this, whether it's going to be a larger scenario. Again, we're pretty close to invalidation for this diagonal anyways, or we're going to get that 1-2 pullback now. So it's either now or later. That's pretty much the only way we can be looking at the situation right now, because this move up here, we want to be utilizing this as best as we can as an impulse. We don't want to be utilizing this as an impulse. We want to be utilizing this as the impulse, either as complete or working for a 5th wave. So it's very simple. Wave 1-2 pullback is playing out now or very soon, or we're still working for that 5th and we're looking for that expansion as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that's now being created right now, which was the very first scenario of this idea where we're looking for further move to the upside. But this calls for tighter invalidation levels. So the risk management is up to you. For us, or for me personally, is that we're pretty well positioned over here. So we just kind of sit back and talk about what kind of variations are possible. But again, this 5th wave variation is just kind of one of those ideas that's still on the table, and I still hopefully is anticipating is going to be playing out. Otherwise, a larger 1-2 pullback of this, where we got one more high and then a pullback of a 1-2, or we get the idea of the 1-2 pullback now. That's the way I'm going to be managing my expectations. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Again, if you're interested in joining the XForceGlobal Discord membership, the membership link is in the description below. Please do feel free to contact me. And if you're not following me on social media at X, or formerly known as Twitter, handle name at XForceGlobal, please do give me a follow there, because I do a lot of my daily updates there as well, with a lot of altcoin updates as well. Again, thank you very much for joining me here today. I hope I will make sure to update more videos this week. I do have a very interesting educational video for this week as well, so please stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.